may think, based on the fact that I've done a couple of videos now on parenting, that I think myself some sort of expert parent, or think that I deserve some sort of award for doing that. Let me tell you that nothing is further from the truth. My interest is in doing something that I wish people had done with me, and that is to share a little bit of their insight about what it means to be a parent and about what you ought to be looking for. That's why I'm doing this video that I've entitled More on Parenting on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Sunday, the 26th of September of 2021. And again, before I say that, welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. And again, the subject that we're going to be talking about today is more on parenting. Let me go ahead and go through my notes real quick so that you have some idea exactly what it is that I'm talking about. This may sound like a silly question, but what is the final aim of parenting? I submit to you that it's often misstated as raising children. The more accurate answer would be bringing children through childhood into adulthood. Put another way, your ultimate job as a parent is to raise not children, but adults. Part of the, quote, trick, end of quote, of doing that is to steadily cede responsibility for the decisions surrounding your children's lives to your children. If you continue to make decisions for them, you can count on them not learning how to do it for themselves. So when I heard a conversation between Tim Pool and one of his, quote, guests, end of quote, talking about whether or not one or more of the guest's children should go through a given medical procedure, you can imagine how it rankled me that the parent was acting as if the decision was his alone. Where teenage children were concerned, right? I'm particularly talking about teenage children for the medical procedure because I think they have to be at least that far along. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been a part of that decision. In fact, here's what I'll say. Why are there so many horribly dependent people out there? In part because their parents raised children, not adults. By the time I was maybe 14, I spent more time on my own than with my parents. Most of my decisions were my own. When I got things right, I benefited. When I made mistakes, I paid the price. My parents were there in what you might term an advisory role. They didn't abandon me. They did train me to think for myself. That doesn't mean we didn't discuss things. Just that most of the time the final choice was mine. This is where you should end up with your children. They should wind up as functioning adults where possible. And I want to throw out a caveat. I've got a son, and my son is moderately autistic. He may never live out on his own. There's no way to tell for sure. He might. I'm not trying to say one way or another. We really don't know. Of course, you never know for any kid whether or not that's true, but for moderately autistic or severely autistic kids, that's very much less likely. But my point in all of this is to say something really very simple, and it is that you, whoever you are raising, whatever children you have that you're dealing with, should be working toward the idea of raising not children, but adults. And I've told many people this. I've told a lot of people, look, don't raise children, raise adults. Raise people who, as they get older, you cede more responsibility for their actions and the consequences thereof to them, and you make it quite clear that in the long run, you're going to be responsible for all of this. Look, it's simple. I'm not living forever. That's just not happening. And since I'm not living forever, there's always a possibility that I'll die before you even get to adulthood if you're not there already. Now, if you're there already, obviously you should be in a position where that responsibility is long since yours. But the point of all of this is to say that if you raise children where you do all of the work, now again, in this medical situation, should dad have a pretty serious amount of say in the situation? Absolutely. Anybody who says otherwise is confused. That's confused. Dad should have a serious amount of say-so in the final decision. Because a lot of times the kids will do things on bases that are not so clever. They'll think, I really want this thing. But my attitude is what dad should be doing typically. Okay, and this is, again, there are exceptions to this. But typically what dad should be doing is saying to that child or those children, look, if you want to do this thing, you have to have this procedure. I don't like this procedure, and I don't think you should have it. That means to me that you should probably consider either not doing this thing or finding some way to get around the fact that you need to meet this requirement in order to do that thing that you want to do. But the point is, in the long run, where I can certainly make the argument that while they're kids, Dad has final say in the matter, he should be making it very clear to the kids where they are, what could happen, what might happen, what might not happen, what may end up as a result, whether or not the thing that they're really wanting to do is worth the time that they think it is, and so forth and so on. And he should be saying to them, now, I want you to think about this. And I'm not saying that I'm just going to take your decision without any consideration or maybe without overriding it because I think it's necessary, but I do want to hear your arguments for what you should do and why you should do it, right? The point of all of this is really simple. A parent's job is not to raise children, it's to raise adults. It's to raise people who come to a place in their lives where they actually are making decisions and coming to conclusions for themselves. Because guess what, boys and girls? This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. In the long run, like I say, if nothing else happens, when you're 80 and your kid is 50 and you die, the kid is going to have to do that, or they put you in the old folks home or whatever. The kid is going to have to do that. They're going to have to make their own decisions. And the thing is, where in this modern day we've got I don't want to say convenience, we've got the benefit of waiting until we're in our 30s lots of times to grow up, something I don't necessarily agree with, by the way. But where we have that ability to do that, in my mind, you should still be teaching your kids to be thinking, reasoning human beings as early in life as humanly possible. That's how that ought to work. And again, why do I do all of this with parenting? Why have I spent the time that I have with parenting? Is it because I'm some sort of perfect parent who's got it all right? Absolutely, positively not the case. I'm trying to help you to gain a little bit of knowledge and think about things maybe you're not thinking about as a younger parent. I've been a parent now for 36 years. I've had a little bit of time to think about this. I've had a little bit of time to work on it. And by the way, I'm not saying that people telling me that there are better or different answers shouldn't be listened to. I absolutely need to listen to them and try and hear what they're saying and then make decisions, again, on my own about whether or not what they're saying is good or bad, right? That's very important. That's very important. But, and this is what you need to understand, you need to understand that just because the people that I'm dealing with when they're young, are children, doesn't mean that the thing that I should be working towards is having them be children forever. Okay, a kid under the age of 5, let him be a kid. That doesn't mean don't give them any responsibility or do anything that's going to make them, have to think and work and so forth. But let them be a kid. When they get to be about 7 or 8, it's probably time to add a few more adult things. When they get to be 10, it's really time to start getting them to think a little bit more on their own, making their own decisions and so forth. By the time that kid is 14, 15, 16 years old, you should be making it so that they make a lot of their own decisions and they suffer the consequences for bad ones and they get the benefits of good ones, just like I did. And just like you probably did when you were a kid, in all likelihood. Maybe if you're a little younger, that's not quite as much the case as it was for a lot of us. But for a lot of us that are older, our parents expected us by the time we were 15 or 16 to start making sure we got to school, to start making sure we were wearing clothes that were suitable for our situation, to start thinking about going out to work. By the time I was 14 or whatever, I was working. I'm not saying everybody should do that. I do think it's a good idea to get out there and experience that world fairly early on. Okay, I need to go ahead and wrap up. I think you get the idea. The point is, you're not raising children, you are raising adults. You'll excuse my kid in the background, by the way. So, this is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Sunday, the 26th of September of 2021. It means tomorrow will be Monday, the 27th of September, that beginning of the work week, today being the beginning of the Christian week. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on podcast, on YouTube. You'll notice that I have a problem not saying welcome. That's life. I live with it. I hope you can too. Remember that Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a plus or a boxing glove. That is a positive feedback on Rumble. You can give me a minus or a negative feedback on Rumble if you want to do so or feel the need to do so. You can give me a thumbs up or a like, which is my positive on YouTube, or you can give me a thumbs down or a dislike on YouTube if you feel the need to do that. Remember that you can comment on any platform, and then I'll do my best to read the comments. I wish that I got more regular comments and less junk ones, but that's life. Hope you're doing well today. Hope everything is going well for you. Hope you're getting prepared for that new week coming along. Hope everything is generally going well for you. I know some people that I'm praying for because I know that that's maybe not so much the case as it ought to be. But hopefully we will see you again. Subject for today has been more on parenting. Subject for tomorrow will be empirical and anecdotal. Again, hopefully we'll see you again on tomorrow's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Sunday, September 26th of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S. .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.